Violence at a community center in Vaughan.
A young person stabbed and injured. Police on the hunt for multiple suspects tonight. Good evening. We begin with breaking news. York Regional Police responding to a stabbing this afternoon.
One person was injured in the attack, police identifying him as a teenager. It happened at the Valora Village Community Center on Weston Road, north of Rutherford, just after 3:30 p.m. When police arrived, they located the male victim with non-life-threatening injuries, and he was taken to hospital. Investigators say multiple suspects fled the area. No descriptions have been released, and police say the attack does not appear to be random, adding there's no immediate risk to the public.
We have more tonight on concerns over emergency response times in Toronto.
Reviews underway after a caller waited for 911 to answer after a teenager was shot and later died on the weekend. Now we're hearing more accounts of people forced to wait while in need of life-saving help. CTV's Allison Hurst joins us live with the details. Allison.
We heard from a mother who called to tell us about her son's allergic reaction while he was at school, saying the ambulance response time was far too long.
Riley is feeling better after a life-threatening allergic reaction at school.
I ate something that had or touched peanuts, which I didn't think it touched peanuts because it was in a normal bag.
It happened yesterday morning. He told his teacher and went to the school office.
They gave me my EpiPen when my throat was kind of closing in.
And they called 911.
After approximately 20 minutes, the ambulance finally arrived.
Toronto paramedics tell CTV News while the crews were en route, the call was upgraded. The total response time was 19 minutes.
My son's school is in Midtown Toronto, and there's no reason why this should take that long.
It was pretty scary while I was waiting for the ambulance.
This is the third emergency call reported to CTV News in 5 days that a patient experienced a 911 call or ambulance response time delay. On Friday evening, a robbery turned violent at a store near Queen and John. When a staff member was found bleeding in the doorway, bystanders called 911 and Toronto paramedics confirmed the ambulance arrived 15 minutes later. Then Saturday night, a 15-year-old was shot. Neighbors rushed to help him and called 911, but the first call was not answered for nearly 7 minutes. He was pronounced dead in hospital.
It took 6 minutes and 42 seconds for the call to be answered, which is not acceptable.
The mayor announced yesterday plans to hire more than 360 frontline paramedics, superintendents, and support staff over the next 3 years to respond to rising emergency call demand and increasing response times. Toronto Police Service tells CTV News reducing wait times is a top priority for the Toronto Police Service. We are actively hiring 3 classes of 30 new communications operators this year to strengthen our capacity and improve response times.
I was told that when the ambulance did arrive and it was questioned why it took so long, they responded by saying that they were having a very busy day. And that's extremely upsetting.
Riley says fortunately Hatsolo Toronto, an emergency service operating in Toronto's Jewish community, arrived to help within 3 minutes of being called, but they couldn't transport him to hospital.
We shouldn't be expected to have a separate private ambulance service to address our children's emergency needs.
Dale wants to see the delays addressed urgently to prevent a different ending for another child.
Toronto Paramedics Service has confirmed that they are reviewing the 911 call from Saturday. Meantime, police say that anytime there's a major incident, there is a surge of 911 calls, but the response time starts once the first one is answered. Reporting live, I'm Allison Hurst. Natalie, back to you.
Okay, thank you, Allison. And we have new information from Toronto Police about the 15-year-old shooting victim Allison mentioned in her story. Around 10 p.m. Saturday, officers arrived at the scene near Jane Street and Weston Road and found 15-year-old Jakai Jack of Toronto with a gunshot wound. He would later die in hospital. Police say a suspect fled before they arrived and the investigation is ongoing.
Also tonight, a welfare check escalates into a police-involved shooting after officers say they witnessed a woman under attack. The latest on the SIU investigation coming up.
But first, to the countdown to a major sporting event set to take the field right here in Toronto.
We're now just 1 year away from the start of the FIFA World Cup. CTV's Sean Lee Thong has more on the excitement and preparations leading up to kickoff.
The countdown is on. Today in Niagara Falls, FIFA unveiling a 1-year clock, counting down the seconds until the 2026 World Cup begins.
It's important because it's the most iconic location, we think, in Canada. It's the #1 tourism destination in Canada.
This clock in Niagara Falls will soon be joined by clocks in host cities as part of the Canada-US-Mexico-led event. Canada's women's goalkeeper, Serena D'Angelo, says the excitement will be a lift for the players.
There is absolutely nothing better than playing in front of your own country, and to know that's in Toronto, where when we play with the national team, that's home for me. And nothing beats playing in front of Canadian fans, and I know the men will be up for the challenge.
The two Canadian host cities are Toronto and Vancouver, with BMO Field playing host to the first World Cup game to be played in Canada.
To be honest, it's a dream come true. Obviously, we played in the last World Cup in Qatar, but to be honest, the fact that we were playing at home just brings a different vibe to it.
Until that time, fans are able to come and take a picture with the clock.
I'm excited for next year and hopefully I can attend some games.
And as the FIFA World Cup comes closer, Mayor Olivia Chow is saying this morning that the $97 million being paid by the province isn't enough.
The federal and the provincial governments need to support us. If you look at Vancouver, that Vancouver bid is not costing the Vancouver city much money because it's the provincial government that's footing all the.
So they made a better deal.
Yeah, absolutely.
And at the announcement today, Ontario's Minister of Sport, Neil Lumsden, pushed back.
Again, we're going to work with Toronto and find out how best that $97 million can be spent to have a phenomenal World Cup.
But they do have some time to figure it out. So while the one-year countdown is officially on, the first game in Toronto is 1 year tomorrow. Sean Leathong, CTV News.
Also tonight, could this year's Toronto Pride Parade be the last big spectacle of its kind? Organizers warn of a scaled-back show in years to come as they grapple with a six-figure funding gap. The details just ahead.
But first, a look at the forecast. Here's a live shot of the city. Still warm outside, and the warm air will stick around tomorrow for the most part, but then a slight dip. Air quality also still a concern, so bear that in mind if you have plans. Lindsay Morrison is here with a look at the current conditions. Lindsay.
Well, Nathan, we are expecting air quality to improve again into the day to tomorrow. But today we were at a 4 on the air quality health index. So a bit of a deterioration. Temperature wise, yeah, it was hot. It was humid today. We made it to a high of 28. It felt like 32. You'll notice that it is a little bit cooler this hour for some lakeside communities, especially in the East GTA. 21 degrees at the Toronto Islands, 27 at Pearson right now. Winds have been a bit of a story today. They're quite gusty out of the southwest. Here's your overnight at a glance, dropping to about 15 for the low. And then tomorrow, not as hot, but still comfortable. We'll take you through the forecast coming up. For now, though, Nathan, I'll send it back to you.
Thank you, Lindsay. A man was critically injured after he was shot by police in Markham early this morning.
The officer firing the weapon while responding to a man attacking a woman inside a condo unit. The province's Special Investigations Unit has now been called in to get to the bottom of what happened. CTV's Raheem Ladani joins us live from the scene with the latest. Raheem.
Natalie, I can tell you that police say the person who was shot by a York Regional Police officer has been identified as a 34-year-old man. Police say that person was attacking a woman inside this apartment complex. It's inside this apartment complex in Unionville where residents heard screams coming from inside one of the units around 4:45 in the morning.
They heard really loud screams, and that's how they woke up because it was really early in the morning.
A neighbor dialed 911. When officers arrived, they could also hear sounds of a disturbance. A number of residents tell us they believe the incident happened on the 3rd floor. When officers opened the door, they witnessed the woman under attack.
When our officers arrived at the unit, they located a male actively attacking a female. At least one officer discharged a firearm, striking the male.
It's believed one shot was fired. The man was taken to hospital with critical and life-threatening injuries. The woman who was attacked is in stable condition.
The preliminary information we have from the police is that the woman has stab wound injuries.
The province's Special Investigations Unit has been brought in to investigate the circumstances surrounding the officer discharging their firearm. This complex is on Highway 7, just east of Warden Avenue, and people in the area are in disbelief.
It's very shocking. It's a very nice place, never happened.
Think of the safety of my kids, I guess. But we moved here, we thought it was pretty quiet neighborhood, so we didn't think anything like that would happen.
Police have not disclosed the relationship between the two individuals involved or if this is a case of domestic violence. However, residents are aware this could have ended differently.
The police came in time, otherwise the woman
The SIU is urging anyone with information to contact them. Police also tell us that no one else was inside the apartment unit other than the woman and the 34-year-old man. Reporting live, I'm Raheem Ladani. Natalie, back to you.
Thank you, Raheem. And an investigation is underway in Vaughan after a shooting this morning. Emergency crews were called to the area of Bathurst Street north of Rutherford Road just before 10:30 a.m. They found a 33-year-old man with gunshot wounds, which he is expected to survive. Police believe this was a targeted incident with no ongoing risk to public safety. Officers are searching for a man in an older model black sedan seen fleeing the scene.
A woman accused of killing 3 people across 3 Ontario cities last year has been deemed fit to stand trial. Sabrina Kaldhar is charged with 1 count of first-degree murder and 2 counts of second-degree murder in connection with the killings of 2 men and a woman in Toronto, Niagara Falls, and Hamilton last October. In March, a court found the accused unfit to stand trial and ordered her into a 60-day psychiatric treatment program. Citing opinions from mental health professionals, a judge today said the circumstances that made Kaldhar unfit had likely resolved. She's scheduled to appear in court next month.
We turn now to concerns for the future of a beloved school in Toronto.
Hayden Park Secondary serves students with special needs, but as CTV's Scott Lightfoot reports, a cut in admissions has parents worried its days may be numbered.
Since 1923, what is now Hayden Park Secondary School has been a special place for young women with special needs.
I just love this school. It's amazing. I loved it when I was a student here because all of the teachers were very accepting.
The school features programming for female, transgender, and non-binary high school students with special needs or requirements. It's attended by students from across the city. But there are fears for the future of the facility after a notice was posted on the school board's website that there would be no grade 9 admissions for the upcoming school year.
My biggest fear is that because they've eliminated grade 9s coming into the school, are they now going to close Hayden Park down? This school's been around for 100 years. They know what they're doing when it comes to educating young women with special needs.
According to the Toronto District School Board, only 9 students applied for the grade 9 program next year, and those students will be redirected to alternate schools. In a statement to CTV News, the TDSB said no decision has been made at this time about the long-term plan for Hayden Park, and board staff will continue to monitor its enrollment. TDSB's long-term program and accommodation strategy has already identified a study to look at options for the future of Hayden Park.
That was upsetting. It just felt like the rug was being pulled right underneath us as a community that has been working so hard to build this school.
The trustee for the area says she has asked staff for a meeting on options for the future of the school, saying she wants to save the program. Parents say they will fight to save a school and a program that has changed the lives of countless young women.
This is what they do to save money in TDSB. Like, this is just not fair at all.
Scott Lightfoot, CTV News.
Pride events are underway in Toronto leading up to the big parade later this month.
But the loss of some major sponsors has cast a shadow over this year's festivities. Though as CTV's Mike Walker reports, organizers say despite significant financial challenges, this year's party will continue as planned.
With the annual Pride Festival just weeks away, organizers continue to grapple with a massive budget shortfall after losing some key corporate sponsors.
The entire festival is just over $5 million. We are currently in a shortfall of close to $900,000.
A last-minute appeal for support from Pride Toronto's executive director, who says major companies including Nissan, Clorox, the Home Depot and Google have withdrawn their sponsorships. Kojo Modeste believes it's the result of corporate backlash over diversity, equity and inclusion initiatives following the U.S. president's push to eliminate the programs.
For the ones that walked away today, they're going to have to demonstrate that they are ready. They have done their work in order to come back.
Home Depot has previously stated no agreement was in place, adding to the financial hurdle soaring operational costs.
In 2022, our insurance went up by almost 200%. All prices have gone up So we're constantly having to play catch up.
Other companies have recently come forward to sponsor the event, including Shoppers Drug Mart, No Frills, and Union SEIU Healthcare.
We stepped up not only because others have stepped back, but to send a very clear message. The fight for workers' rights is inseparable from the fight for 2S LGBTQIA rights.
The city has committed more funding for the festival over the next 3 years. This year's total has increased to $350,000.
We are so diverse, and as some people are not feeling very welcome in the States, we're saying, come to Toronto.
Pride Toronto still calling on the provincial and federal governments for funding commitments. They want less than 1% of the $200 million in taxable revenue the festival generates.
We're not asking for a handout. We're asking for our fair share of the pie.
Organizers say there won't be any noticeable differences to Pride events this month, but warn the shortfall could impact programming next year. Mike Walker, CTV News.
More than 150 people are set to lose their jobs as a major player in the steel industry shuts down part of its operations in Hamilton. ArcelorMittal has several facilities in Hamilton, including a large steel plant and a separate wire drawing mill. Today, the company said it will be closing the smaller facility and transferring the work to its Montreal location. CEO Stéphane Brochu said the change is necessary to improve operational efficiency and remain competitive. The union representing steel workers at the mill linked the closure to 50% U.S. tariffs on Canadian steel, calling them a nail in the coffin for a site already facing challenges.
And as Canadians face the repercussions of those U.S. tariffs, we have an update on negotiations between the two countries. CTV News can confirm talks to reach an economic and security deal have intensified in recent weeks, with the framework for such an arrangement trading hands between the two parties. Sources who spoke to CTV News on the condition of anonymity all caution finalizing the deal requires sign-off directly from U.S. President Donald Trump, and there are no assurances that will happen on a certain timeline.
Prime Minister Mark Carney is expanding the invitation list to the G7 summit.
It now includes leaders of India and Saudi Arabia, nations which have been criticized for trampling on human rights. CTV national correspondent Judy Trin explains the delicate balancing act involved.
Final preparations for the G7, the world's most powerful club, are underway. Prime Minister Mark Carney is opening the summit doors wider.
Why are we inviting Modi and MBS to the G7 in Kananaskis, sir?
The expanded invitation list is dividing the Liberal caucus. In particular, invites to Saudi Arabia and India. Narendra Modi is attending, even though the RCMP has linked his government to the killing of a Sikh Canadian activist in 2023. This BC MP told the Prime Minister hundreds of his constituents are concerned.
The transnational crime has to stop, and Canadian rights and values and fundamental rights and when it comes to serving justice.
Other MPs say Canada needs to engage with India, one of the world's largest economies.
We are a country of rule of law. We want to make sure that those investigations are taking place. But it is also really important in this moment in time where there's so much is changing around the world that we do engage with a large economy like India's.
Saudi Crown Prince Mohammed bin Salman has a close relationship with Donald Trump. His government was also implicated in the 2018 murder of Washington Post journalist Jamal Khashoggi. The prince hasn't confirmed he's attending the G7, but could help with Carney's nation-building projects.
That Prime Minister Carney wants to really push at this meeting is catalyzing private investment for infrastructure around the world. And the Saudis are, especially their Sovereign Wealth Fund, very big investors.
Later this week, British Prime Minister Keir Starmer will visit Ottawa before attending the G7, along with leaders of the European Union, Ukraine, Australia, Mexico, Brazil, South Africa, and Indonesia. Analysts say Canada's diplomatic invitations are about building reliable relationships.
We're living in an era of Donald Trump, and Prime Minister Carney has made it very clear that it is a national security imperative for Canada to develop not just deeper economic ties, but deeper strategic ties as well with countries around the world.
Every leader will be approaching this summit with diplomatic caution, knowing that Donald Trump is unpredictable. In 2018, the last time Trump was in Canada for a G7 meeting, he walked out without signing the final communiqué. Judy Trin, CTV News, Ottawa.
In BC, an out-of-control wildfire threatened some homes early today in the town of Squamish.
Overnight, we've seen some occasions when trees would fall. They're probably 40 meters from homes. We do have a sprinkler protection line running throughout the east flank of the properties, protecting those homes. So we did see a few trees drop, and our crews were on scene to help extinguish the small little incursions.
But overnight growth of the fire was minimal. A local state of emergency was declared yesterday, and an evacuation alert remains in place for the community about 60 kilometers north of Vancouver. The fire is one of more than 90 in BC, most of them in the northeast part of the province. More than 10,000 people have been forced out of their homes due to blazes in Saskatchewan's north. Most evacuees are going back now or have been cleared to return later this week.
A warning, this next story contains graphic content. The Crown's begun closing arguments in the trial of 5 former World Junior hockey players. All have pleaded not guilty to sexual assault. Earlier today, defense lawyers made their closing arguments. CTV's Heather Wright reports.
The judge has now heard from all 5 defense attorneys who separately outline why their respective clients should be acquitted. Today, Lisa Carnellos, Dylan Dubé's attorney, told the judge the Crown has failed to prove beyond a reasonable doubt that the events that took place in June 2018 amounted to sexual assault. It's an argument also made this morning by Cal Foot's lawyer. Foot is accused of doing the splits over the complainant's face while naked. Juliana Greenspan says her client did the splits over the complainant's torso and was fully clothed in shorts and a t-shirt and never touched her. This was in a playful manner. This was a playful trick, and EM was in on it, she said. Greenspan told the judge that EM never told police in her first interview that the man who did the splits didn't have pants on. During her testimony, EM said she clearly remembered him not having pants on and that it wouldn't have been shocking to her otherwise. Greenspan argues this discrepancy calls into question EM's credibility. The complainant has changed her evidence in a material way in a focused attempt to falsely sexualize that interaction. This is a case that hinges on consent. The defense has argued the complainant was a willing and active participant in the sexual activity that took place. The Crown began her closing submissions by saying the opposite. She did not choose. She did not make a voluntary choice to engage in those sexual acts. Therefore, she did not consent. The Crown also told the judge the accused constructed a narrative to investigators in an effort to make them look good and the complainant look bad. The Crown will continue her closing submissions tomorrow and says she will revisit the group chat sent before and after the incident, as she says they challenged the credibility of the 5 accused. Heather Wright, CTV News, London, Ontario.
Local health officials in Gaza Strip say Israeli attacks killed at least 60 Palestinians today. Most of the deaths occurred near an aid site operated by a humanitarian foundation. Medical officials say dozens of others were wounded as they approached a food distribution center. Israel's military said it fired warning shots towards a group of suspects because they posed a threat to troops in the area. Palestinian health officials also said at least 14 people were killed by Israeli gunfire as they approached another food site. The Gaza Health Ministry said the Palestinian death toll from the war has surpassed 55,000.
Israel has recovered the remains of 2 additional hostages from the Gaza Strip. One was killed on October 7th, 2023, during the Hamas-led attack on southern Israel. There are 53 hostages still being held in Gaza, with fewer than half believed to be alive.
The city of Los Angeles is relatively calm after the mayor issued a curfew last night.
After days of protests there, demonstrations against U.S. President Donald Trump's immigration raids have spread coast to coast. CTV's Joy Malvin reports.
Despite an overnight curfew in Los Angeles, police broke up crowds protesting the president's immigration raids, arresting hundreds of people last night. Some for vandalism. 24 businesses were looted overnight, but most were arrested for breaking the curfew.
The situation was winding down and was concentrated in just a few square blocks downtown. With that, That's not what Donald Trump wanted. He again chose escalation. He chose more force. He chose theatrics over public safety.
In a primetime address, California's governor condemned the president for deploying a massive show of military force he objected to, calling it an abuse of power. 4,000 National Guard troops and 700 Marines called up, now protecting ICE agents, providing security as the government steps up its immigration raids.
Well beyond his stated intent to just go after violent and serious criminals. His agents are arresting dishwashers, gardeners, day laborers.
Anger erupting over the government's crackdown have fueled demonstrations in cities across America. The president, who relishes his law and order reputation, digging in on his controversial use of the military, threatening to do it to other cities if he has to.
This is the first, perhaps, of many, or perhaps, if we didn't attack this one very strongly, you'd have them all over the country.
And after protests erupted in Texas, Governor Greg Abbott said he's calling up the National Guard.
We're not scared to go further. We're not frightened to do something else if we need to.
What is fast becoming a summer of unrest, protests are planned for Saturday across America. At the same time, Donald Trump's military parade with tanks and Black Hawk helicopters will roll through D.C. Joy Melvin, CTV News, Washington.
Coming up, it said he wrote America's soundtrack, capturing the spirit of summer, surfing, and youth. We look back on the life and legacy of the Beach Boys' Brian Wilson after the break.
And I'm Pat Foran. Coming up on Consumer Alert, do you collect Aeroplan points? If you do, when is the last time you checked your account? More people say they've been hacked and had points stolen worth thousands of dollars. I'll have that story. That's just ahead.
So we're back to a 3 tomorrow on the Air Quality Health Index. So that's good news when it comes to wildfire smoke. We expect to see less of it in the days ahead, but colder air is on the way. We're going to take you through the forecast coming up, and stay with us. We've got another full night of great shows for you right here on CTV.
Aeroplan is one of the most popular loyalty programs in the country, with about 5 million Canadians being active members.
But if you collect Aeroplan points, you should know they are being targeted by scammers hoping to hack into your account. Here's Pat Foran and Consumer Alert. Pat.
Thanks, Natalie and Nathan. Well, criminals are looking to steal anything of value, and they've set their sights on Aeroplan accounts. Two viewers saving their points for dream vacations found out they were hacked and lost points worth about $13,000.
It's like seeing your bank account disappearing.
John Geiler of Markham and his wife love to travel, and after he retired last year, they were planning to use their saved Aeroplan points to take a dream vacation. But when they checked their account, they got a surprise.
So in January, we started to look at trips and discovered we had missing Aeroplan points.
Geiler has been an Aeroplan member for more than 35 years and was shocked to see his 245,000 points, worth about $5,000, were gone. His account had been hacked by someone who bought gift cards, and he was told the points would not be returned.
They had refused to reinstate the 245,000 points because they'd been stolen over a year ago.
I couldn't believe it at first until I checked again, and they were gone.
Frances Parkin of Toronto was an English language teacher in France in the 1960s and had been saving her points to take a trip to Paris. She had more than 400,000 points, worth about $8,000. She also hadn't checked her account for more than 12 months. It had been hacked and the points redeemed.
Someone had purchased a series of gift cards.
Aeroplan is owned by Air Canada. A spokesperson said, "We state clearly members should notify us immediately of any concerns about their accounts. They are responsible for monitoring their account activity, as early detection is important for reinforcing security."
There's been a lot of security issues with accounts being hacked or taken over, and people lose those points or miles.
Rewards Canada provides information on loyalty programs and says to prevent theft, use strong passwords, enable two-factor authentication, secure your email account, beware of phishing scams, and monitor account activity often.
I recommend that people check their loyalty balances probably at a minimum at least once a month, if not more.
Both Geiler and Parkin are frustrated. Their hacked points are gone for good.
To not have any possibility of redeeming them was shocking.
And you can lose your Aeroplan points due to fraud, but you can also lose them due to account inactivity. To keep your points from expiring, you need to make at least one Aeroplan transaction every 18 months to keep your account active. On your side, I'm Pat Foran.
If you have a consumer story idea, email us at alert@ctv.ca.
So, Lindsay, we saw that live shot of the city just a few minutes ago. The sun still so high in the sky, even after 6 o'clock at night. Just a beautiful hot night.
Yeah, well, here's the thing. By Friday, our sunset time, guess what it's going to be? 9 p.m.
Ooh.
I know. We're just 1 minute shy of that right now, but the days are getting longer. And on a day like this, you really notice it because we have all that sunshine. It was a very summer-like day today. If only this pattern was going to last. Tomorrow will be a little more comfortable for most, and then the weekend could be a little chilly. Here's what it looked like earlier today. I think many people decided to take advantage of the conditions and head down to Woodbine Beach. Our CTV News chopper was flying high above it, seeing some sun worshippers and those just enjoying perhaps a lunchtime break by the water. Here's the thing, Lake Ontario is still a little cool. The water temperature is about 15 degrees, and that is contributing to some of this below seasonal weather we've experienced through the month of May and June. Today, though, we were above seasonal. We made it to a high of 28 degrees. It's 27 now at this time. Not record heat. We would have had to climb above 33 degrees in order for that to happen. And Sarnia, the hot spot of the province today, at 30. Overnight tonight, we dropped to about 15 degrees. Once again, normal, if anything, on the mild side of seasonal. We've had some gusty winds today. Those winds are going to change direction. First, they'll be coming out of the north overnight tonight. And then by Friday, we are tapping into an east wind. So remember when I talked about the water temperature on Lake Ontario? East wind helps bring some of that cool air onshore, and our temperatures reflect it. I'll show you Friday's high in just a moment, but tomorrow morning, cloudy, chance of showers, temperatures in the teens. By the afternoon, though, beautiful clearing and a high of about 25 degrees. That's actually not bad. It's not a major cool down. We're back to seasonal. It's, again, into Friday and Saturday that we're going to be feeling a bit of a chill. Not much to show you right now on the satellite and radar. A little more cloud cover for areas east of Georgian Bay and through Muskoka, the Ottawa Valley. There's our chance of showers for tomorrow morning. It's just a weak disturbance that's going to swing through. Going to pause it here at about 7 a.m. just to show you that potential. This is fast moving. By the afternoon, we are into, at the very least, a mix of sun and cloud. But then Friday, an increase in cloud cover. I think the majority of the daytime hours will remain dry, but then overnight we get into possible wet weather that follows us through to Saturday morning. Look at the temperatures, maybe only 18 degrees on Friday, maybe 17 in some areas. There's Saturday, 19, so we're still cool, we're still unsettled. The majority of your Saturday could also be dry, but just prepare, have an umbrella handy just in case. Sunday, though, looks great at this point, mix of sun and cloud, nice temperature improvement to about 22 degrees. And then if you're missing the heat by then, we've got some good news through the middle part of next week. That's your look at the forecast. Natalie, over to you.
Thank you, Lindsay. Still ahead on CTV News, Sir Johnny MacDonald stands again at the foot of Queen's Park. 5 years after the statue was defaced and covered up, the controversial cast has been uncloaked. We have reaction coming up. One of the most innovative and significant songwriters of the 20th century is being remembered tonight.
Beach Boy founder Brian Wilson has died. CTV's Andrea Case looks back at his complicated life and the musical legacy he leaves behind.
The architect of the California Sound said he never went into his pool or visited the ocean, but his music was the soundtrack to the sun and surf. Brian Douglas Wilson died just days before his 83rd birthday. In 1961, the high school student co-founded the seminal group The Beach Boys, eventually becoming the first pop musician credited for writing, arranging, producing, and performing his own material. Heavily influenced by his abusive father, the Beach Boys included his two younger brothers, Dennis and Carl, along with their cousin Mike Love and friend Al Jardine. Their debut album was 1962's Surfin' Safari. From 1962 to 79, Wilson wrote or co-wrote over 24 U.S. top 40 hits for the Beach Boys, with 11 reaching the top 10. He had perfect pitch and taught himself the piano as a child. But Wilson will also be remembered for his lifelong struggles with mental illness, beginning with a breakdown in 1964, which led to an estrangement from the group.
I regret having taken drugs because drugs kind of mess up my mind, you know.
He turned to drugs in the mid-60s and says an LSD experience helped him write Pet Sounds in 1966, widely considered one of the greatest albums of all time. He was driven as an artist, which led to frustrations. He admits he was impressed by the Beatles and Paul McCartney in particular, which drove him to try and outdo them in the studio. In 2012, a 50-year reunion tour. 4 years later, Pet Sounds' anniversary tour, performing his final concert in 2022. Wilson said nothing brought him joy like his 7 children, including 5 adopted. His daughters, Cardi and Wendy Wilson, followed in his footsteps, forming the band Wilson Phillips. Wilson says, "My children and my music are my 2 greatest loves." It was his family that announced his death today in an Instagram post. "We are heartbroken to announce that our beloved father, Brian Wilson, has passed away. We are at a loss for words right now. Please respect our privacy at this time as our family is grieving. We realize that we are sharing our grief with the world. Love and mercy." No cause of death was given. Brian Wilson was 82 years old. Andrea Case, CTV News.
An ancestor of the Tyrannosaurus rex has been discovered in Mongolia thanks to a group of Canadians.
It didn't belong to this Electrosaurus that it was originally named, that it was something entirely new to science, and we ended up naming it Konkulu.
The dinosaur lived about 86 million years ago, predating the T-Rex by about 20 million years. The mid-sized dinosaur was about 4 meters long and weighed 750 kilograms. 2 years ago, a University of Calgary graduate student realized a fossil in a Mongolian museum was actually from a new species. It turned out to be an immediate precursor to the dinosaur lineage called Tyrannosaurus.
Coming up on CTV News, video game fans switch up their system, setting a record on new Nintendos. The latest on the level up just ahead.
It's troubling, you know. This is a place for families, for children to come get lessons, to go to the library, to study.
Updating our top stories, York police are looking for multiple suspects in a stabbing at a community center in Vaughan this afternoon. Police say a male teen suffered non-life-threatening injuries during the incident at the Vallore Village Community Center near Weston and Rutherford. They also said the attack doesn't appear to be random, and there's no immediate risk to the public.
But we moved here. We thought it was pretty quiet neighborhood, so we didn't think anything like that would happen.
A 34-year-old man is in hospital after being shot by police in a Markham condo unit early this morning. Officers were called to a disturbance near Warden and Highway 7, and they say they found the man actively attacking a woman. An officer then discharged his firearm, causing the man life-threatening injuries. The province's Special Investigations Unit is working to piece together exactly what took place.
We do not want to lose our status of the largest pride in North America, the 2nd largest pride in the world.
And Pride Toronto says it's facing a nearly $900,000 budget shortfall after several sponsors withdrew funding. Some new sponsors have stepped in, and the city increased its financial support. Organizers are urging other levels of government to do the same, pointing to the revenue the festival creates.
Remember to keep up to date day and night at ctvnewstoronto.ca and by downloading the CTV News app.
On the markets, the Canadian dollar is up a fraction to 73.16. Our fix on Western Canadian Oil Select is down to 54.80. And the TSX is up 97 points, hitting another record close, ending the day at 26,524.
The Business Report is brought to you by Canadian Western Bank, the bank built for business.
Well, it was a good start to the year for Dollarama. The retailer says it beat quarterly sales and profit estimates in the quarter ending May 4th. It did that with net sales of $1.52 billion, slightly higher than what was forecast. Analysts say those results reflect ongoing economic uncertainty. They linked the boosted sales to consumer interest in discount alternatives for pantry staples, cleaning supplies, and other household goods.
And while many households pull back on spending, new figures show video game fans were willing to shell out for for Nintendo's newest console. The Switch 2 hit shelves June 5th. The company says 3.5 million units were purchased worldwide within the first 4 days of sales. That gave the successor to the Switch Nintendo's best console debut to date. It retails at around $630 Canadian pre-tax.
A controversial statue is once again looking over the ground of Queen's Park tonight.
The monument to John A. Macdonald had been boarded up because of repeated vandalism. But as CTV's Queen's Park Bureau Chief Vaughan Wednesday reports, the coverings came down today.
After 5 years in a plywood box, a statue of Canada's first Prime Minister at the edge of Queen's Park is back in open air. Work to remove hoarding and scaffolding began Wednesday morning. The monument to Sir John A. Macdonald boxed up after being defaced in July 2020. A summer of racial reckoning and coming to terms with Canada's legacy of residential schools, a system Macdonald was an architect of.
He's a controversial figure, and he is also, the issue surrounding residential schools is still very raw for many people.
Last month, a legislative committee voted to clean Macdonald and dismantle the box. There was no consensus on how to reflect on a chapter that can't be escaped.
I think it's frankly an exciting day to be reminded and acknowledge our history. And yes, history good and bad.
Ontario's only MPP from a First Nation notes the statue's return lands during Indigenous History Month. A few weeks ago, he described Macdonald's likeness as much more than a figure of bronze and granite.
It's a statue of oppression. It's a statue of colonialism. It's a statue of Indian residential schools.
While the Speaker stresses the statue isn't going anywhere, discussions with Indigenous Ontarians will continue about changes or additions.
Have something on site that speaks to the pain that they suffered because of the residential school system, but also celebrates everything good about the contributions Indigenous communities have made.
A permanent plaque acknowledging history can't be changed, not sufficient for this woman watching on.
There should be more story, like visual story about why people are so angry about him.
Others glad to see Macdonald overlooking downtown Toronto once again.
Hopefully it's a sign of protests being a little more cool.
The statue has a new protective coating to repel paint and is under the round-the-clock watch of legislative security. Skelly says she welcomes protests for people to share their hurt.
But we have to do it peacefully, and we have to do it respectfully, and we have to do it within the law.
There's no specific timeline for that consultation with Indigenous communities about how they'd like to see themselves represented at Queen's Park. But the Speaker says she'd like to see some sort of agreement as soon as possible. At Queen's Park, Siobhan Morris, CTV News.
In sports, the Toronto Blue Jays had the brooms out this afternoon looking for a sweep in St. Louis.
Like Altuve, maybe.
Oh, this one is drilled. Ernie Clement hits it out.
Ernie Clement put the visitors up 5-2 in the fifth inning, and that is how it would finish, leaving Toronto 3.5 games back of the AL leading New York Yankees. The second-place Jays have won 12 of their last 14 and hold the top wild card spot. They are in Philadelphia on Friday. Meanwhile, outfielder Nathan Lucas has been placed on the injured list with a concussion.
Still ahead tonight, finding the beauty in everyday life. A local photographer freezes fleeting moments in time, showcasing what would otherwise slip away. Time is running out to see an exhibit celebrating the diversity of Toronto.
As CTV's Jessica Smith reports, it explores the cultural fabric of our city through photography.
Capturing quiet, everyday moments to showcase our shared experiences.
Because he's a deaf artist and he would like to use his photograph to capture the world.
As a deaf artist, Casey Chan is assisted at times by his wife and interpreter Debbie Ma. Chan's photo exhibit at the Assembly Hall in Etobicoke is a cultural mosaic of how different cultures move and operate in the day-to-day.
Like Hong Kong, Taiwan, Thailand, Japan, and since we're living in Toronto, there's some is from Toronto, and we went to New York as well.
Exploring the connections between nature and humanity one photo at a time. Freezing moments most miss because they're living them.
When he take this photo, he feel like there is a contrast between the travelers and the office worker here.
The photo collection was 8 years in the making with scenes from Toronto to Osaka. And moving forward, Chan and Ma plan to continue expanding the photo series.
He will keep traveling around the world and capture different cultural story.
The Assembly Hall is free to attend and open Monday to Saturday. The Diversified Life exhibit here at Assembly Hall runs until June 12th. Up next is an installation called Art is Color beginning June 18th. Jessica Smith, CTV News.
You know what? The weather's great if you're heading out to maybe catch the exhibit.
Absolutely. 27 degrees out there right now, I think, Lindsay.
Still at this hour, I love a warm summer-like evening in the city of Toronto. And if you have an opportunity right now, after the show, of course, maybe venture outside, or if you're at home, great evening to fire up the barbecue. Here's our current temperature. Yeah, it still feels close to 30 out there, so just be mindful of that. Make sure you're hydrated, find shade if you need to. Tomorrow's lawn and garden forecast, a reminder, we're going to start off the day with some cloud and the chance of a few showers, but the afternoon is looking good. There's Friday and Saturday. Cooler days, cloudier too. Chance of showers into Saturday morning, but Sunday improves. And then next week, we're back into some summertime heat. Natalie and Nathan.
All right, I'll take it. Thanks, Lindsay. Be sure to join Omar Sachedina tonight at 11 for CTV National News, followed by Zoraida Allman with our next local forecast at 11:30.
In the meantime, our coverage continues anytime on CP24 and at ctvnewstoronto.ca.
For Lindsay Morrison and all of us here at CTV News, thank you for watching. Have a good night.